Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a group of friends hang out, share music with each other, and one album at a time, take turns. It's like a little book club for music. It's good times, fun time. I'm Petey Rave, your guy with the microphone in the top left corner. With me is my crew, my team, my squad. We've got David.
Right before the podcast, I listened to the entirety of Inagata Devita by Iron Butterfly. Let's go.
Wow, it's like doing a line of coke right there. Damn. We've got Drew.
Because of conversations we had before we hit record on this, all I can think about is Baraka taking hits off of weed Banaka, and I can't not laugh.
A Baraka Banaka.
A Baraka weed Banaka.
Okay, so there's a new MK11 trailer. Cool.
Nice. There you go.
Like Mortal Kombat's Baraka and a Banaka.
Yeah.
Your brain is an amazing thing we should study and make video games out of.
And of course, as you can hear, we've got our new guest for the new cycle. We've got none other than Curley, DrunkKidsGaming Pants Mickey. Curley. How you doing, Curley?
Hello and hi. We all have microphones, Petey. You said that earlier, but it's not a defining feature of your world anymore.
I know.
And he definitely has a plan.
I'm just not allowed to say man with no plan.
Everything was a lie. He always had a plan. It was all a lie.
Last time we recorded, I might have brought up the fact that he always says, I'm the man with no plan. And I'm like, you definitely have a plan. We do the same bits every day.
How did you get your pants on today without a plan?
I'm a man with no creativity and no improv skills. I have my routines. We have yes, more or less. We're here to talk about music, of course. Talk about an album. We're starting off the cycle, and of course, I like to start off the cycle with us, and of course, that means I have an album to bring. My album is an album by a rapper from New York City by the name of Mike. All capital letters. I came across Mike because I was I had come across an article on Complex of all places. I think it was put up on my Google feed. You swipe right all the way to the leftmost blade on your Google phone.
That's what it does.
It came up with a Complex article about New York rappers, rap-using New York rappers that kind of show the scene. 11 showcase the variety and things like that. And one of them is Mike. And I read, they talk about some of the things they point out as far as his musical style. They point out that he's kind of he's mentored or kind of been inspired by guys like Earl Sweatshirt. Use it and also takes MF Doom as an influence and a couple other guys. So I was like, well, he became one of the names that I went to Spotify and saved albums for later as a note. And I decided to, hey, let's pick out. I saw Renaissance Man. It's a good sized album. Seems like it's his most recent work or one of his most recent works. So I figured, hey, let's bring it on. Didn't know exactly what we were going to get into, but I was interested for sure. But let's talk about expectations. David, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
About the same as you, Petey Rave. About exactly the same as you. I saw the same things you did when I did my recertification on Mike. All caps, just like Kenta. And I figured, hey, Petey enjoys hip-hop. I enjoy hip-hop. Let's see what this is. I was ready to give it a listen and see how I felt.
Yeah.
I came in with an open mind and an empty stomach.
Yes. Drew, what were your expectations coming into this album?
I didn't do any research, but I was coming in with pretty much the same idea. Is okay, this is a rap album. There might be some lyrics that maybe speak on social issues. Namely, the album was Renaissance Man. So like a lot of times you think about somebody commenting on the day when you think of such things. But other than that, I didn't really know what I was getting into. But I was excited to get into it. I'm always down for a new rap music, as it were.
Curly, what expectations did you have coming into this album?
How real do you want me to be with you?
Hey, be all real.
So I remember hitting you up very specifically to tell you, like, yes, I would love to be on Record Breakers, but I remember your show requires listening to a thing, so let me get that information heads up very early. And then I remembered I had to listen to those albums today while I was at work. And I was like, oh,
that
good.
happens a lot. That happens a lot.
So I honestly I got home from work at about 3:20 in the afternoon. 6:00 is the time we started getting together, and I was like, all right, cue it up, let's go. So I actually had exactly 0 to none even ideas of what the music or album was about, just the name. That's it.
Yeah. So it's gonna be fun talking about. But yeah, this album. So I didn't know what to expect, and I was curious because definitely like some of the when you bring up specifically MF Doom or Doom, depending on what era it is, you come up with like kind of out of left field, hip hop, very like wordy, very like clever lyricism and things like that. There's kind of like almost a stand-up comic on the mic kind of thing, almost like in a sense, multisyllabic rhyming and things like that. But mostly like clever lyricism and cool like sample beats and things like that. And I think I can definitely see some of that when we're talking about this album musically. You can definitely get some of that, but this is definitely like that, but like on Valium. Like, this is like, it is a mood album.
Weird.
Like,
So I don't want to jump in and it's like step on anything, but we're just like free form talking right now. Like,
yeah, you can, if you have a thought, you can go ahead.
So exactly what you said. I'm so glad you did, because like it really did. Like, my initial going into this with a limited amount of time and not like my normal experience of trying to do like a real interpretation of a new piece of music. I was just like, cool, put it on Spotify. I'm gonna go to the kitchen and start making food, and I'm just gonna listen to it in my house while I get through these next 2 albums. And I did listen to both albums, by the way, so I have the full knowledge of everything. But I did go through it, and I was just like, I swear to God, and I don't want to start with the negative because I do think there's a lot of good things in this album. I was just like, I can't understand shit. Okay, this mumble stuff getting me hard. Like I can't. Like.
Yeah.
Then I immediately went and I started looking at the lyrics, and I sat down for a moment, and I was like, these lyrics are some fucking good shit. Like they're actually okay. Like. Yeah. Okay, I was like, oh, I can follow along if I have a fucking helpful hand.
Yeah,
and that's
interpretation. I'll come back to you in a moment.
Okay.
So shut your mouth. No.
Sorry,
there you go, Petey. Take control of your podcast. There you go, Petey. Let's go. Finally learning something from you. Take control of your damn podcast.
But yeah, the musically it kind of has like a very cool like it's very establishes like a mood, yeah, and it establishes like an attitude, like it's Mike really working out some of his thoughts, like this is working out some of his feelings, and it's deliberately. This is definitely not like about a specific like athletic flow or anything. It's not about like a specific like these are not club bangers per se, but this is still like there's still artistry here, and I think that's what's really important here. There's still a really cool like meaty artistic album that I think works on a bunch of different levels. That I think you do get that MF Doom thing where you have those like samples and you have like, and we'll get into some of the key tracks, but like you get into those samples here and there that kind of add to the mood, add to the personality, that I think just works really well. And you get a couple of guest rappers that work really well, but still fit in that mood without kind of like deviating from like what the core of the album is. So I think it works really well. But yeah, David, how would you describe this album musically?
For the audio listeners, here's what I'm about to do. I'm about to sit back in my chair and just lean all the way back and all the way down, and I'm staring at the ceiling. This album was a bit of a drag, in the most literal sense. Depending on how you feel about that, take it for what you will. Your mileage may vary. To Curley's point, yeah, it's mumbly. Yeah, the beats and the production are what the kids might call on more along the lines of the lo-fi. You know, if you're on the YouTubes and you're looking for the little anime girl looking for something to study and chill to, that was definitely more of the vibe of this album. This wasn't exactly a album to display rap flow or lyrical prowess to a certain extent. It was a deliberate, methodical album that, yeah, it drags, and it has a mood that if you're in the right headspace for it, cool, but if you're not, and you like your hip-hop with a little more tempo, it's a bit of a drag.
This is I would definitely not categorize this as a fun album.
No club plays on this these tracks.
No. Drew, how would you describe this album musically? What would be the themes, elements?
Yes. When we want to talk about the rapping, as it were, it was a choice. We'll go with. It seemed like everything was like half mumbled most of the time. Like I could just barely understand the lyrics 70% of the time. The other 30%, absolutely hopeless. I need to look up some liner notes. Like the fuck is going on? The music itself, actually, like the beats and such, I found okay. Where Deech said lo-fi, I think he's on the money there. I got some vapory vibes out of parts of this album. So there's that. Apparently something happened. So there's that, like the samples and stuff that was going on, like there's bits of that like nostalgia-y, vaporwavy feel vibe to it, which I think is cool. There are times where like I feel like there are profound moments that I'm missing because the dude sounds like, the only thing I can think of for the vocal tonality of this record is if Kurt Cobain tried to make a rap album, and that's all that kept going on in my head.
Petey,
Specifically, this is if Kurt Cobain wanted to make a rap album, but only based off of what he was doing when he wrote Polly.
Petey, this in a lot of ways is like the polar opposite of Denzel Curry's Taboo in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's like the complete opposing end of the spectrum.
Yes. Yeah. Curly, what else did you have? What did you think about? What would be the? How would you describe this album musically? What would be the themes and elements?
So I'm sorry I blew my load a little earlier, and just pretty much all my opinions. But I think Drew and David were coming up with great points on this, which I'm glad I'm not alone in. Like I musically, like I did have the what I was feeling outside of like Drew said you were misunderstanding some profound moments that might possibly there. But like for me, I feel like because I listened to the whole album just in one row while doing other things, and there was moments where I was just like, all right, I'm digging this, and then there was moments that I was like, am I listening to a really bad OC remix right now? Like, am I just like, what is happening in the background? But then all of a sudden I'd hear something really good, or like I'd catch a lyric that was really good, or when I later came back real quick because I was like, there has got to be something more to this, and so I looked up some of the lyrics, and I was just like, my biggest problem is I was doing kind of the same thing that Drew was doing, but a little bit more positive. Is I when I started reading the lyrics of a thing I just heard and kind of understood, I was reading the lyrics, but I was hearing them in a better rapper's voice. And I was like, damn, that line would hit so good if he would say the words.
I felt that way about pretty much every feature on this album. Everyone else on this album I really enjoyed.
Yeah. That's definitely an understandable feeling on this album. I think I don't want to call it like this is the extent of his skill. I think it's a stylistic choice, but definitely it's not for everyone. I think it's a stylistic choice and an emotional choice for the kind of the tone of what he's doing on this album.
So not knowing anything about him, Petey, like you were saying that he was maybe working through some stuff. I honestly like again just a quick read through the lyrics when I was looking at this, like he seems to be trying to say some shit. I don't know anything about this man's life or what his issues are, but like I was just like, damn, yeah, man, I get you. Like,
yeah. It was a choice. And I think for what his aim was, it works. But let's get into some of the lyric. Let's get into some of the tracks, some of the key tracks. And I'll start with some of my key tracks. I would say it starts off the bat with kind of like a very setting the pace very early with Negro World, the intro track, the opening track. Kind of more like, almost sounding more like spoken word than anything else, because it doesn't, since there's not much of a beat going on. It's more like he's just kind of like talking, and I think it works well. You have like Sidewalk Soldier, which really kind of like solidifies the mood of the album, and like I say, like, and you have like moments like Why I'm Here, where it's really just a sample of the old timey whatever it was radio play of a dude reading along with an inner city kid.
But so that one was super interesting though, in regards to the actual like message being done. But like I remember listening to it and just not like I read this whole thing and I was like, wow, fucking pretty cool. Like I dig the way this whole setup is. It's a great poetry, and then and then I re-listened to it, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, but yeah, David, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
I wrote this in my notes. Okay, this better pick up quick. And it took until the 6th track, or 7th actually, Resistant Man, which I thought was a little bit reminiscent in terms of flow. I don't know if this was Mike or Ade Hakim. That reminded me a little bit of You God from the Wu-Tang Clan. And I thought that one was pretty decent. Also, the second half of Mother of God was where that one kind of really kicked in. The beat in that song in the second half was really good, and those were the two tracks that I really felt like really stood out, where I felt something. I felt a pulse. I felt like this whole album I was just trying to see if like a defibrillator would come along or something to give this album a pulse, and there was something there. This whole album has something there. Like Curley says, that there are things here that work and are good. It's just very, very faint of a pulse.
Yeah. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, I'm going to go backwards of what I normally do, because I usually do it down the track list. But I'm going to go with two that really, 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 really stood out for me, which, like DJ alluded to on this record, is sort of a layback experiential thing. But we're going to go to the near the end first. For the Nation was really where I got that, like, when I say vapory feel, like, For the Nation, if you want to pick out where, like, that was its strongest, in my opinion. I think that the music, the actual beats on it, felt the best there for me. The rap on it seemed meandering by all involved in that one. And then I'm also going to bring up Resistant Man, because I think on this album, as a package, I think track 7, Resistant Man, is probably the best put together. It's a simple message, a simple song, and a simple beat. And sometimes in rap music, like, that's the best thing out there. Is like, no, you have something to say, put some rhymes to it, say the thing, and put some drums and a bass like mine. Like, that's all you need. Like, just do that. And sometimes it can, like, really be profound. And I think Resistant Man was that for me on this album.
Curley, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
So I'm going to mirror a lot of what everyone said. The ones I marked were Resistant Man, because I looked at the lyrics and I love the poetry in some of these. It's almost super beneficial to literally just see the way the words are outlined in regards to line by line and stuff versus the way that they're delivered. There's some really good fucking poetry in some of these songs. And so I marked that one for that, which I'm glad to see you guys did as well. I did the what's the other one? Why Am I Here? That one because it's the one that has all the samples that everyone was talking about. There's a lot of, like, just old timey audio and put together, but I love the way that it came together pretty interesting. And maybe it was because there was no rapping in that entire fucking actual track that I kind of dug it. But I like what he was there. I like what he was putting down. But basically, it was really like you know how, like, many other artists have pulled in, like David Bowie brings in actual, like, Apollo mission fucking audio files and whatnot, and he just plays in the background.
Like, MF Doom just pulls in, like, Fantastic Four cartoons from, like, the
but it builds to the background of something, and it's not necessarily the whole thing. This whole track surprised me because it was good, but at the same time, it was also just like, oh, so it's just literally just dialogue and a couple, like, old timey audio tapes, like. But I was like, okay, well, he just made a mashup. He made like an anime fucking what is it called?
An AMV.
An AMV, that's it. Yeah, one of those things.
An anime music video, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. And then
animemusicvideos.org.
Time Will Tell I liked as well. I thought the lyrics were pretty strong in that one.
Yes.
Yeah, it just has a good rhythm to it. I just loved it. Once again, with reading it.
Yes. This is like Mike should just release a book.
Just release a book of poetry.
Also, animemusicvideos.org is still up, and I love that.
I think I know the guy that runs that site.
That's awesome.
I believe his name is Nate.
Yes.
Hi, Nate. If you're out there,
hey, Nate, if you're listening, and you're you still got connections with anime news.
Yeah.
let us know. And also make an AMV for Resistant, man. I would like to see that.
Or not.
Or not.
Or not.
Maybe, yeah. All right. But yeah, let's talk about some conclusive thoughts. Let's bring it back around the horn. Deej, David, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I wish the producer and whoever made all of the beats on this album had a better feature rapper to work with. The style is really cool, and it has been proven that with vaporwave beats, with lo-fi beats, you can be a good hip-hop artist with that. Maybe Mike can get there. And if I read right, he's pretty young. He was like 19.
Yeah.
So maybe in a couple of years he'll get there. But for this album, it really did not do it for me. Like the best thing that I saw musically, just in all of music recently, was Denzel Curry's cover of Bulls on Parade by Rage Against the Machine.
Oh my God, it was so good.
That is what speaks to me. And this was the polar opposite of that. So it was a bit of a slog for me, but you might enjoy it. You might enjoy Mike if you're in that kind of mood.
Yes. Drew, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
The conclusion, I guess, would be that, like, if I could suggest one thing, to Mike, would be enunciate. Would be a word that I would look up and put into your vocabulary. Besides that,
move a few inches away from the microphone.
You guys are harsher than I was gonna be.
but like, that's the thing is, like, we've said it, like, there's things in there that are good, and like there are a lot of pieces that are good. But it's the delivery. Like, to me, the best rap is, like, very quickly and easily understood, and like you're getting a point across. That's poetry in general. Is you're getting a point across in a roundabout way. And to me, this misses the point of getting those points across. But when it does manage to sneak that stuff in, it's really good. And that's, I would be interested to hear more. But again, because the music is good. Like, the beats are good. Like, I liked all that stuff. Sometimes I like Deej said, I like to have something to chill, relax, and study to on in the background while I'm driving to work and whatnot. So, like, this works on that front. But if I'm looking to, if somebody says, I don't know if I really like rap music, this isn't going to be what I'll show. Like, this is advanced.
Chill.
This is advanced. This is not rap 101. This is you're getting real deep into studies here.
Less chill study and relax, more like brood, cry, and
carb load too.
Perhaps come back up.
Yes. Meander too. But yeah, Curly, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
So many comments, but I started to lose track in my brain. Exactly what Drew was saying. I guess I was saying as well. Just the whole, like, there's so much good in random parts of it. I feel like he just stumbles upon some of the good stuff. And to go again with what David was saying was, like, I feel like this could have benefited heavily from a bigger, like, another like outward management, a bigger producer or something, or maybe it was the producer's fault. But if there was someone that was outside of it that could listen to it, because I'm an amateur music listening connoisseur of any rap or anything really, and I'm just like, I'm hitting the same thing, the beats that you guys are doing, who are professionals at checking out albums and whatnot. So if I'm hitting on the same, like, notes where I'm just like, there's a good bit there, I wish that was, just like, go with what you were doing there and then just like spend it to the rest of the song. Like, can we just like not have the rest of what you did for 2 minutes in between here? Like, just like, yes. If there was someone on the outside saying that, it would have been better. I don't think there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good. Some great poetry. Just no thanks. I'm not gonna. I think I'll mirror again what one of you guys said, is that I would definitely I'll be down to try again with the next album or whatever from Mike. But there ain't no way unless Petey hits me up with a Record Breakers invite, I'm not gonna seek it out.
Yeah. Also, side note, if he's listening, Mike, just to let you know, your name, like, the name that you're going with as an artist, it has terrible SEO. I'm just putting that one out there.
Mike and his mic.
Yes.
Maybe he doesn't want to get the hits.
Yeah.
The old avoid SEO technique. I like this idea.
The DJM method.
The old don't post your podcast on iTunes method. I like that.
Yes. I think the problem was not him not wanting to get the hits. I think the problem on parts of this album would be too many hits.
Too many hits can spoil the broth.
Yes.
I believe that was Khalil Gibran.
Yes. Yeah, I think as far as how I would conclude is that I think you guys definitely make some solid points. I mean, this is not an album for everyone. This is not an album for every mood. This is not an album you just kind of throw on and jam to. This is an interesting piece to just observe and consume for a moment, just to kind of get into somebody's head. And just get into somebody's mindscape when it comes to music, because there's like you guys said, there's a lot really that does work here. A lot of points here and there. There's very kind of really cool, interesting parts.
There was weirdly non-coherent track changes.
Yes.
It was very weird for me that I was like, all right, I get where he's at, and I'm happy with and I didn't even know what track was ending, but I just got to a point where I was like, yeah, and then it would just be this boom, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta go check Spotify. It might have just jumped to a playlist somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Am I listening to a different goddamn album? What is this? And I was like, oh no, it's the next track. My bad. Weird. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but Danny Brown did this, and it still worked.
Yeah. I think music is interesting. Like I said, it's not necessarily I have it here notes literally says not necessarily a fun album, but it's an interesting album, to say the least. It's captivating in a way, and does set a mood, and I think it's worth checking out once if you're really kind of if you're really, it's definitely not a start. This is not the hip hop starter care, hip hop 101. This is not your mission into the cave fighting the goblins.
This is not the
guy on the way to.
This is the
town.
side boss. This is the weird side.
This is
boss.
your level 20 side. This is your level 20 side quest to the weird town that you went to that your DM didn't know you were wanting to go to, so you had to write last minute. And
this is the Sephiroth fight in Kingdom Hearts 1.
This isn't your Princess and the Frog for minorities in Disney movies as princesses.
This is
what the hell?
I don't know. But I think it's a cool album, and I think there's something there, and I think there's hope for what Mike does going forward. You can see the promise.
I wish you the best, Mike.
I'll say that.
Yes.
Hoping your next album is more.
Yes. So yeah, I think overall it's just a really cool album. I think that not all there, but it's a really cool album. But let's get down to it. Let's get to the main event of the evening. We get to our haiku reviews. Let's break it down poetic style, our own poetry. As we praise somebody else's poetry. Let's get into it. David, what is your haiku?
Yes, the beats are great. Mike's lo-fi flow is something I did not care for.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what is your haiku?
Something is missing because I just don't get the draw. Refrigerator.
You're a cheater. How many haikus has Drew done that refrigerator's the last sentence?
I've done at least 4. Brett did at least 3.
Yes.
Is that allowed, Petey?
Everything is allowed. No rules, just right.
God damn it.
We've done it before.
I've been going really out of my way to be
Unique.
really unique with the haikus. But if I can just throw refrigerator on right before we start recording, come on, man.
I didn't know Drew looked up the game stages how to do haikus. Fucking secret sheet.
Uh,
I've been out here trying to get good, man.
Here, fucking Drew's Hassan Whitesideing it. Curley.
Just gonna yeet that word right into the haiku. That's fine.
Curley, what is your
refrigerator? No, sorry, I'm not gonna do it. I wrote, you got some great lyrics. I can't hear a word of it. Mumble, mumble. Why?
There you go. Perfect. My haiku. Moody hip hop mess that sets a cool atmosphere. Not fun, but still cool.
A little positive Petey over here.
I like to like things, but like I said, I'm trying to be.
I like to like things too, but I'm not afraid to not
Yeah.
like things.
Hey,
Yeah.
look, I'm gonna put it out there because we haven't invoked this name in a while. It's not Glassjaw.
Yes.
Longtime listeners
Not
of the
the
show
worst
will
thing.
know my thoughts on Glassjaw.
It's not the worst thing we've listened to.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Is that Drew's Blackwater? Is that all of a sudden when
It's like it's
Glassjaw
God,
is always what I
deep
refer
cut,
to
black
as
water.
the worst
Deep,
record I've
deep
listened
cut.
to for this show.
yeah. It's like it's an album so bad that it killed the episode we reviewed it on. We had to do a recap episode with that and the
Oops,
Moody
we
Blues album.
lost it.
Oh my god, it was so amazing. But yeah, those are our thoughts on Mike's Renaissance Man. Regardless of what we think, for considering he's getting talked about on Complex and he's getting working with guys like Arrow Sweatshirt, I think he'll be fine. You can, of course, listen to this album on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers, the home game. Do your due diligence and your due diligence. On that Spotify playlist will be next week's record, and it's going to be provided by David Deej. What do you have for us next week?
PD Rave Record Breakers listeners and fans, the album I will be providing is the recent album from the Lonely Robot Project from British guitarist John Mitchell, entitled The Big Dream.
Yeah. Oh, John Mitchell. I keep yelling at Spotify. They wanted to play The Big Dream by John Mitchell. I was like, that's not what... but it's going to be an interesting, to say the least, it's going to be an interesting discussion. But yeah, that is next week, and this is this week, and you can of course find us all over the internet. David is at Call Me DJM. Drew is at XDruciferX. Curley is at Curley, also at DKGTV.com. I'm at PD Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com if you want to email us feedback or questions or thoughts or anything you want.
Give us a 5 stars. Give us the 5 stars. Subscribe to the podcast. Unsubscribe and then subscribe again.
Yes.
Help PD out. Give us the numbers bump. PD works really hard on this podcast. So
new and noteworthy?
Don't do it for me. Don't do it for me. I'm a jerk. But do it for PD. PD's awesome. Unsubscribe and then resubscribe.
Yeah.
And then give it the 5 stars. Rebelly.net/Record Breakers. And you know what to do. Give it a thumbs up on YouTube. Make a comment. Make a nice one. Be nice. Be nice.
Bang that bell. Do all the things. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Oodle toot.
Ooh.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.